that, you little.
Coming up.
I just want to shake some sense into you kids.
Preferably
holding
around.
remissive drops.
Yeah.
Stop that, you little shit. And welcome to the show.
Now she's being cute and laying on her back and playing with one of her toys by batting at it with her feet. And it's like, ugh.
Of
You're
course
just
she
like a
is.
child.
Of course she is.
Oh, when we got her, she was so small she could fit in the palm of your hand. Stop tearing up her shoes.
Now,
Look at
has
a
she
spray bottle,
decided that your legs are trees yet, that she must scale up regardless of whether or not you're wearing pants?
Yeah, she's done that. Hey, quit biting her shoe.
So shall we open up with the fact my husband and I got incredibly shit-faced this weekend?
Oh,
And
that's always a good way to start.
Yes, you were trying out your new brew.
Oh my God. Okay, so I told Ishi and RALT'S before the show that we opened the mead that I made for myself on my birthday. It was a blueberry lemon, and it came out very dry. And so we expected it to be strong, but we took our first glass and we were just a little tipsy. So we're like, okay, and we poured another glass and still only a little bit tipsy. And then we went for a third glass. And then it hit.
And then it hit.
I proceeded to try and swim. That was a failure. My husband decided that he wanted to listen to Counting Crows. So he did, and he sang along. And mind you, we have neighbors. I tried to take a shower. I think I did. I do remember not feeling like I was covered in chlorine. And then we laid in bed and we're watching the pilot episode of the X-Files, and that's the last thing I remember. And apparently we both passed out watching the X-Files, and we were hung over like we were in our 20s, but we're in our 40s, so it didn't feel good.
Three glasses, and you were bombed out.
Yeah, well, I measured it later. It was 15 to 17%. So that was a big oopsie on our part.
That's hard alcohol.
Did he sing about Mr. Jones and me?
Yes. And then I admit I got in on this too. I forget the name of the song, but it was in Shrek 2, and we sang to that because we like Shrek 2. And yeah, Christopher had come out at one point, and we tried to explain to Chris why the 80s were so amazing, and he rolled his eyes. He's like, every generation says their generation's pop culture is amazing, but I don't think your pop culture is amazing at all. We're like, well, your generation, like, we were blunt. We're like, your generation's pop culture is shit. And he's like, yeah, I know, I'm really disappointed. And he walked away.
Well, at least he's aware, his knowledge is half the battle.
Look,
Chris listens to classical music now. He says that he appreciates the past geniuses. That's all he likes to listen to. So I play classical music for him all the time. Either that or Dan Carlin's Hardcore History.
I mean, I'll rip on the boomers, but I'll give it to them. They made a lot of really good music and movies.
Oh yeah, no, the boomers did good too. Something happened halfway through the millennial generation where I feel pop culture fell apart. I really do.
It was called communism and woke. And
well, that they would rather fucking crawl across broken glass and cut their own throats than let Gen X be anywhere near anything.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of Gen X, have you seen, this is now a trend for Zoomers, millennials. They are going after us hard. To the point there's one do you guys follow the real Slim Sherry? She's a Gen Xer that like bitches at millennials and boomers and calls them out for all their bullshit. Yeah, she is now going after these Zoomers and millennials on TikTok, calling them out for their bullshit, saying that Gen X shouldn't be called out or blamed for anything and shut the fuck up. Their life is easy. Ours was not. And then when you have the boomers come in, say, we had the same type of hard life
No,
too.
you didn't.
She also
No, you
points
didn't.
out, she said there was always a mother home or a father home with your generation. Shut the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
Gen Xers were the first generation that had to deal with both parents being gone. I mean, with the silent generation and generations back, you worked alongside your parents, at the factory, in the coal mines.
Hmm.
So you were a family together still. You did everything together. But oh no, like our parents wanted a career more than us. So yeah, she's kind of liberal, so and sometimes I'm like, no, but most of the time she's calling out boomers, zoomers, and millennials.
Well,
And
I
it's
remember the one time the woman who raised me was in that empty nest syndrome and just started asking me all those stupid questions that apparently women do when there are no more kids. Well, so Mom, is there one thing about me you would have changed?
God.
And I told her, well, that I would have preferred not to have been paddled off to my horrible relative's house. I would just much preferred to have had a mother. And what happened, Kat? Because you were there.
Oh, she screamed at you. She's like, she screamed, you would have preferred I sacrificed my career? Like, yes.
Well, you asked, bitch.
Luckily, my mom never asked that. She already knew the answers.
honestly, I'm going to give my mom a pass because she had been working since she was 16 and she had a hardcore work ethic and she actually hated not being employed. Just because she had that, and it wasn't a career drive or anything, but she actually liked to work. As she got older, and especially she and my dad realized the same thing. One day I was 18 and I'd moved to SDSU and sayonara, I was gone. It was too little too late, but they actually like toned down how much they worked. But my mom had it driven into her that if you're not working, you're lazy. So she compulsively worked. And when she got laid off by General Dynamics, she actually had panic attacks because she couldn't find a job immediately. It took a couple of months and it freaked her out. So I do give my mom a pass because, like I said, it was drilled into her head that you're lazy if you don't work and you don't find a job right away. And I do think my grandparents should not have done that to her.
So, what about you, Ralts?
Don't even get me started.
You emancipated yourself. That
Yeah,
kind of
I
explains
You
it.
freed
moved out.
yourself.
I moved out very early. There was a question on Twitter. What'd you do with your first paycheck you ever earned? I went to the junkyard and bought a door for my truck, so my girlfriend didn't have to worry about be going around the corner and her flying out. So, um,
Which is amazing in itself.
let's see. My dad used to leave me and my younger brothers. My dad and mom would leave me and my younger brothers and sisters in the car where they went into the bar till like 2, 3 in the morning. In the winter, summer, didn't matter. Mom would leave us in the car while she went into the store to shop. Of
Yeah.
course, that was all the kids.
Mhm.
I once broke 2 fingers, and she just put popsicle sticks and wrapped it in a bunny bandage.
Jeez.
Let's see. When I became old, but about the time my friends got old enough to, turn 18, 19, and 20, they were able to get jobs that they were able to get started with jobs. But then the 90s happened, and the boomers took the 90s. Well, actually, no, it started in the 80s, started in the mid to late 80s. The corporate raider lifestyle, which Hollywood played up as the most wonderful thing ever, and
Mhm.
corporate raiderism was when they would deliberately damage the stock of a company. They
Yeah.
would buy it. They
Yeah.
would buy the company, and then they would rip it apart and sell parts of it to China and close down. They would take out huge loans. They would take out massive loans, and then they would have the company go defunct, And then they would file for bankruptcy, and they would lose the factories and physical property, which is why you ended up with all of these rusting fucking factories. And then to top it off, the executives were all giving themselves massive they started giving each other massive bonuses and screwing over the people who were working, to the point where they were literally raiding the company for money. And they were just passing around the money and having themselves a good time and killing the companies that people worked their lives for. Stuff like looting the pension funds and all that good stuff, and dropping the pension funds for their parents on the state. And a lot of these parents had their pensions from the companies, and they thought they had it set and they'd be able to live at home. And the boomers would destroy. The boomers would put grandma and grandpa in a home, and usually a shitty one, and then they would take the inheritance early and they would spend it on Vegas and Reno and Hawaii. Oh, don't think you as a kid got to go. You didn't. You had to stay home, because see, your big sin was you made the party stop in the 60s and 70s. You made the party stop. When we got old enough to enter the workforce, they began corporate downsizing and shipping jobs overseas. When NAFTA hit, there was 5 major manufacturing facilities around where I grew up for the last part of my life, and all 5 of them, within a week of NAFTA being passed, they knew NAFTA was going to pass. They built factories in Mexico, and as soon as NAFTA passed, they closed the factories and moved. I mean, we're talking within a week. Fired everybody with absolutely no idea. And then let's see. Then they faked the evidence with the spotted owl. They faked the evidence for other endangered species, and they shut down all of the logging on the West Coast, all of the mining on the West Coast, putting tens of thousands out of work. And then fucking Hollywood mocked them the whole fucking time. And boomers who lived in the city thought it was funny. And so Gen X was like, hey, I'm trying to find a job. And they were like, LOL, fuck you, here's minimum wage. And it's like, but wait a minute, I'd like to work for a corporation. LOL, here's minimum wage. And they started doing this thing where instead of hiring internally, they were just passing around the same boomer assholes and the same, ultra privileged assholes that had ruined everything. And they would just pass them around. You would not get promoted if you worked. Say you worked for a corporation and you started in the mailroom where all these boomers bragged they started. Well, your ass didn't move. You stayed in the mailroom. Meanwhile, the executive class, which is now mutated into the laptop case, they would just promote each other and promote each other's kids, and you were just fucked. So they left us with a shattered economy. Oh, and then they're like, why are you so poor? Why aren't you so? Oh, Gen X isn't supporting the American economy. Oh, because of low wages, Gen X is checking out of the economy. It's like, well, yeah, I'm checking out of the economy. I was a certified forklift driver with experience I had my hazardous material license. I had shipping and receiving. I could load up trailers. I could load up train cars. They offered me minimum fucking wage.
No.
And I was like, I'm a highly certified professional. And they're like, so? And then they started passing these laws. Now, when we were kids, when Gen X was kids, the boomers didn't give a fuck about us. Hell, half the time, I think they literally wanted us to die. And when we started having kids, well, actually, it started earlier than that. When the boomers took power, they started passing laws. And I still remember how if you watch the movies from the 60s and 70s, cruising was a huge deal. Cruising was great. Cruising made it so you could meet people. As soon as we got old enough to have a license, they outlawed cruising.
I remember that.
I remember when they outlawed cruising, because we used to go cruising all the time. I mean, my girlfriend used to sit on the hood of my shitty fucking truck in her fucking cheerleader outfit and fucking yell at the other cheerleaders and stuff. And there was one girl who would who used to stand on the top of her boyfriend's car and flash everybody her ass because she wouldn't wear her Spanx. But she was a good girl. She was a good girl. Yeah, she got married to that guy. She's still married to him. fucking 40 years later, she's still married to him.
Nice.
And they got rid of cruising, and then they tried to get rid of trick or treating. They did their damnedest to get rid of.
Oh God, I remember that.
They let the junkies take over the parks because the parks were theirs because they were junkies, and
Oh
they
wait, can I
closed down
interrupt
the.
for just one
Yeah, go ahead.
second? You're missing one too. Remember, the legal drinking age in states was between 16 to
Yep.
18, and then all of a sudden, when they became in charge, 21, and now
21.
they're talking about ramping it up to 23.
21. It became 21 out of the blue, and then now you have to have car insurance because
Yep.
God forbid you accidentally ding a boomer's car and not be able to shell out the fucking money for their piece of shit. And then they they made laws stuff like, if your child misses 9 days of school, we're going to come here to your house with the sheriff and CPS. Doesn't matter that you have doctor's notes, because here's what happened to me. My kids got chicken pox one right after another. So for 4 weeks, I've got 3 children, each in a different stage of chicken pox. I can't send the doctor said you can't send the oldest one to school, even though she's recovered, because she's still going to be getting it from her sister. She's still contagious. Keep her home. So I kept my kids home like a good, responsible person. The fucking sheriff and CPS showed up, even though I would take every fucking 3 days. I'd take the school, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I would take the school the doctor's note that said, hey, his kids are still sick. They still have chicken pox. And this was before the inoculation came out, like a year or two before. And they were like, well, your child hasn't been in school, and that's a violation of the Becca bill. I'm like, what the fuck is the Becca bill? Oh, well, if your child misses 9 days of school, it mandates a CPS visit. And I looked at it and
This was in California, right?
Nope, Oregon,
Oh.
Washington,
Okay.
Washington State. I looked at the CPS worker. I said, come back with a warrant. I can come in your house. If you come in my house, I'll shoot you. Come back with a warrant.
Nice.
And so they didn't come back with a warrant. She huffs off, and the cop goes, she's going to try to get a warrant. So I'm going to go, fuck her. I showed him the doctor's note. I said, I got 3 girls, and they're like 2 and 3 years apart each. So, yeah, they've all got chicken pox, and that's what's going on. One of my daughters had a severe case to the point where she was hospitalized for 3 days.
Oh,
And then
geez.
I found out, here's something a lot of parents don't know. In the states with those laws, the principal can decide whether or not the excuse is valid. Let's say I bring in a doctor's note saying, my child burst into flame and then was attacked by wolves. He can go and go, no, I think the child should have been in school. And that now counts as an unexcused absence. And I found this out living in Oregon because, I mentioned before, my daughter's schizophrenic. She had issues going to school. And I'm going to walk to the back porch to talk about this. And she had, issues. A paranoid schizophrenic with auditory and hallucinatory, and she would stay home. She would tell me, I can't go to school. Why? Because, something's going to kill me. Or I spent all night with the lady in the closet, whispering at me, she's going to kill me. Okay. So the cop would come to the door and be like, school's called. They said your child hasn't showed up at school. And I tell him, paranoid schizophrenic. I got called into the school, right? And the way the schools act thinks these fucking laws the boomers passed, were they put up to a vote? No, this stuff was never put up to a vote. This was all passed executive shit like this. The school's like, I go in, I know what's coming. I know what it's about. And I show up and there's, I'm from CPS. I'm from the school district. I'm from this, I'm from that. And the cop's sitting there and they go, your daughter missed 14 days so far this year. And I'm like, yep, yes, she did. And they're like, why? And I went, paranoid schizophrenic with audio and visual hallucinations. And I know what the cop said. The cop went, well, I'm done here. And the CPS lady went, you wasted my time for this. Because the school's like, well, we want her to come in. I said, you know what? You make me send her to school, and then she has an episode, and I have to go to the school to get her, or she gets hauled out by an ambulance screaming at the top of her lungs and belted down because you have students who deliberately fuck with her. So, no, go fuck yourself. So they passed these laws stating, trying to exert total control over Gen X's kids. Then they were like, oh, we're going to change this law. We're going to change that law. They kept changing the laws to make shit harder. I swear to God, it was like,
Yeah.
if we found something we liked, they changed it. Let's not forget, when the boomers got older, they decided, let's replace all the rock and roll stations in the 90s, all the heavy metal stations, with easy listening and their shitty fucking 60s music. I'm so sick of 60s
Oh
music.
my
And I'm
God.
going to say it. I'm going to fucking say it. Led Zeppelin and Blue Oyster Cult are overrated.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank fucking you. Thank you.
And if
fucking
I
hate
have to
Led
hear,
Zeppelin
and if
Pink
I,
Floyd.
and Pink Floyd, I can tolerate mainly because I have good memories, but the music's garbage. The Wall is okay. It's okay. But I mean, we had to put up with that shit. And everybody's like, oh, you didn't have it very hard. You didn't have it very hard.
Suck a dick, guys.
I watched
Seriously.
I watched every job I was qualified for. Oh, and then we have the ultimate insult to injury. Because I lived on the I-5 corridor, corporations decided, and they do this, it would be nice if the bug hive voters understood exactly what this does. I'll use Harry and David in Medford, Oregon as an example. Rather than hire locals, and this bullshit of they're just hiring them to do the work that Americans won't is a fucking lie.
Yes,
No,
it is.
we don't want to do it for the shit wages you're doing. But Harry and David will literally bus up Mexicans from Mexico and have them live in a huge open bay dorm so they can pick the fruit, and then they ship them back to Mexico with their paychecks rather than pay an American one fucking red cent. And we watched it happen with construction. We watched it happen with logging. We watched it happen with everything. So it was like, is there anything that we can have that the boomers aren't going to destroy? And they
Well,
were
keep
like,
in
oh,
mind
well,
that the
no.
boomers also patted themselves on the back for helping the poor Mexicans.
Yeah. And
it
then
was not only that they were basically, exploiting the shit out of these people while
yes,
screwing America. They were
yeah.
also telling themselves what wonderful people they were for doing it.
Well, also,
And
didn't they campaign to get the work program, the actual legal work program that had been around?
The Monticello program?
Yeah, to get that banned.
Yes.
And I'm about to shoot the boomers' biggest mythology in the ass. They talk about themselves while they stopped Vietnam. Okay, I'm going to tell you something.
Oh my God.
They quit giving a shit about peace and love the minute they weren't eligible for the draft. Starting with, well, Grenada, I can give you a whole big thing of why. What I can give you a whole big lecture on what you know about Grenada is wrong. I can give you a big lecture on it. But then Grenada, Panama, Desert Storm, all the brush fire wars in Africa, Bosnia, Serbia, Croatia, they did not see, and then ultimately Iraq too. Iraq too, brown people killer boogaloo, the boomers never saw a war that they didn't want to send other people to. Because now look, they're trying to push us into war with Russia.
Well,
not because they're going to go.
Yeah. It's because
Hey,
Zoomers
quick,
get to fight
guys.
that one for them.
Mm-hmm.
Our kids will have to fight their goddamn war.
Yeah.
Hey,
it's not something Gen X wants. What?
Yeah.
Tweldy wants to know what Grenada is. Do you want to do a Cliff's Note?
Cliff note of what everybody knows and what you can find online?
Yeah.
Grenada was, for reasons unknown, several days after the Beirut barracks bombing that killed 400 U.S. troops, when the United States was gearing up to do a punitive strike and possibly stomp a mud hole in Beirut and Lebanon's ass. I mean, we're talking 82nd Airborne, 101st Airborne, 1st Cavalry Division, 1st Armored Division, 1st Infantry Division, 3rd Armored Division, 2nd Armored Division. Everybody was going to go. Everybody was on alert. Everybody was getting ready to go. The Rangers were already deployed. The Rangers, the SEALs, everybody was heading for the Middle East. All of a sudden, we invade Grenada. And supposedly to rescue some students. And after 3-4 days of fighting, including some really interesting stuff, it was over and erased from public memory.
They don't even teach about it in school. I found out about Grenada from my parents. They never taught that in high school at all.
But what you read about,
news.
What you read about and what really was going on are two different things. Big time.
Yep.
Absolutely. Because I want you to look, if you want to look up Grenada on Wikipedia right now and go ahead and read it, we'll give you time. We'll be on this show for a little bit. I want you to ask, what was so important that we didn't do an ass stomping for 400 dead? What was so important? You'll recognize this name, that General Schwarzkopf, told the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the president, keep feeding me units until I say stop. And what made him move nuclear armed submarines? And what made him order the rest of the submarines to go silent and deep? And what made him scramble the nuclear fork in Europe?
So
Why
what
would they
was
do
happening?
that? Put it together yourself. Oh, why were there Spetsnaz on the island?
So you're saying it's one of those proxy wars you can't talk about?
It's not a proxy war, but if you look, you'll notice something. Why all of this effort? Oh, what were those scientists doing there? Isn't it interesting what scientists were there? That there are actually listed in the Wikipedia article. Certain scientists, why those particular students? What degree were they pursuing? And why was it so important that even though in the initial attempt, several SEALs drowned, 4 guys landed unsupported on the airfield, came under fire, and still cleared the airfield so that we could start bringing in? And why did General Schwarzkopf call every major theater, every major post commander and say, load them up and feed me units until I say stop?
Jesus, so the Cold War almost became hot right then and there.
Oh, and 1st Cavalry Division invaded and took the beaches of I think it was Jamaica. It was like one of the islands nearby, but they invaded and seized the beach. 1st Cavalry Division made an amphibious landing. So why? What was so important? It's not in there. So just start filling in between the lines, and you'll be startled at what you realize. But they don't list that. They don't list they don't list the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force and parts of 101st Airborne taking Nicaragua. The boomers never met a war that they didn't want to send other people's children to. When they were at risk of going, they were anti-war. When they thought nuclear war could hit them, they were out there waving their placards and screaming nuclear disarmament. Now, what are they saying? A limited nuclear war would be good for the economy.
And the population, apparently.
Yes.
Which they've actually said, which makes me ill.
They actually said a limited nuclear war would be good for the economy. They literally said that.
Oh, it's perfect in every single way. If you think about it, get rid of, like a third of the population, maybe more. Bunch of land that
But it
isn't
won't
being
hurt the
used.
people they want to protect.
Yep.
Because they want them for slaves. Yeah, I mean, the boomers, the Gen Z and millennials can cry all they fucking want. But when they were coming into the workforce at 18, 20, 22, whenever they left fucking college, Gen X was trying to support kids in that economy.
Hey, look, you know what? For all you Zoomers and millennials listening who like us still, bit of advice. We're your best friends, seriously.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're
the ones
your best fucking allies right now, no matter what those eldsters tell you. We don't want you to die. We don't want you to go to war. We don't want you to have to be screwed out of a job, believe it or not.
We want the economy back. You know what? Gen X literally wants the economy back where you can support your family and have a house and send your kids to school and go on vacation with one fucking income. We want that back for you.
I would like to live in a world where Chris can afford a house before 40, unlike us.
And I'm sure you want that for your kids, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, of course.
And they sold this. They tried to sell this bullshit at college to Gen X, and Gen X went, all we've seen at college is a bunch of hippie faggots.
That was true. Bunch of hippie faggots is actually about right.
And those are Gen X who went and got a degree.
I'm so
Those are,
glad I flunked out of SDSU because I probably would have ended up like one of these assholes right now.
well, those of us that got our college degree, all of a sudden, oh, well, if you would have started working for the company right after high school, you'd be an executive, but you went and got a college degree. So here's a key to the mailroom. That's literally what they did.
Well, just a slight change of topic here. Not really, but just a little bit of a change of topic. If you want a window into what the boomers thought of Gen X, when they all started realizing that those Woodstock babies were actually going to be born and become responsibilities, they stopped being we're going to save the world and raise a new generation based on new values. You know what we got? Just look at the cinema. Rosemary's Baby, The Exorcist, The Omen. What do you have in common there? Children are the devil.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Children. You had the that's when the movement started. The hippies are what started the movement of having children is bad for the planet.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that is yeah. You remember the population bomb came out, that book?
Yep.
Not a fucking thing in there it predicted ever came to pass.
The
Same
other
thing
thing
with
is
Silent.
they love Malthusian. They love Malthusian. Malthusian. God damn it, I can't remember it.
Malthus.
Yeah, they love Malthus's theories. They don't look at the reality. You know that 40 years ago it was just dirt, and now it's a critical part of the infrastructure. They don't look at that technology expands and widens and deepens your resource base. No, they're all a farm only still it takes 7 acres of farming to feed one person. Like it's the fucking dark ages. That's
Well, what's
not how it
interesting is
goes.
that there was the population bomb came out. It was that book that was pure Malthus. It was just one great. By the way, that had ties to the Club of Rome, which later became the WEF. By the way,
Yeah.
every prediction in that book, they said that we were going to be in a global famine by 1999, and that 2/3 of the world population would starve to death. Didn't happen. It claimed that we would have no copper. That we said we'd have no gasoline. It was just everything was fucking wrong. And the reason being is at no point that they said, oh, people change and adapt, resources change, farming techniques change. And the weird thing is the same thing happened with coal, where they were convinced that there was going to be this Malthusian crisis with coal. And again, they did not realize things fucking change. People adapt. It's not like suddenly you flip a switch and it's gone overnight.
I'm gonna tell you something nasty. All this talk about nuclear reactors and everything. Everybody talks about the wastewater of Fukushima being released into the Pacific, like the Pacific gives a fuck. Okay, I'm gonna quote a movie. You could drop China into the Pacific and not make a fucking ripple. Most people don't realize how huge the fucking ocean is. But anyway, if you take all the radioactive contamination from Chernobyl and Fukushima together, right, it does not equal 5 years of all the coal plants in the world going on for radiation.
Yeah, that's true.
Coal plants produce a massive amount of radiation.
Yeah, nobody knows that. And the other thing is when radioactive material falls in the ocean, it's heavier than everything else. And it goes to the bottom and it doesn't go anywhere. It just keeps going down.
It keeps sinking through the mud until it's the bedrock. Yeah, and people have no idea. When you tell people 7/10 of the world is ocean, they look at you like their brain is glitching, because it is. They have no idea that you could take all of the land masses in the world, copy them, drop them into the ocean, and they would vanish without a trace. That's how big the oceans are. And then it would only be there'd still be 4/10. There'd still be 40% 40% would still be water. People don't realize how big the fucking ocean is.
You remember how they were flipping out about dropping nuclear waste into the Marianas Trench?
Yeah, I remember that.
As if it mattered.
Well, the only thing is inevitably, somehow or another, I don't know how, it would inevitably somehow wash up in New York City.
I'm okay with that.
I have no idea how. But no, don't let them, Gen Z and millennials, don't let fucking boomers try to get off the hook at the last moment telling you that we're the enemy. Okay, because we got screwed harder than you because you came into that job market going, I'd like a job. And you wonder why we were fighting so hard. We were fighting so hard because we were trying to support our families. And yeah, we got, we fought for those jobs. But, it was not, where you see that picture, oh, if you graduated with a high school diploma in the 70s, for Gen X, they kissed your ass. No, they didn't. Oh, if you showed up at a job interview with a tie, they made you an executive for Gen X. No, they didn't.
Who the fuck said that?
Oh, it's a thing going around on Twitter and TikTok. And it's like, no, we showed up and say, hey, I'd like a job. And, for the early Gen Xer like me, I actually got a job. But then in the 90s, they fucking crashed. They crashed American manufacturing with no survivors. And, and here's the thing. Here's what you should really be mad about millennials. Well, you should be mad at the boomers because they were in power when the war on terror happened.
They're still in power.
I know, but hear me out. They sent you and your friends to war. Did they do what America should have done for a protracted war and turned on the wartime economy? No. No, they bought everything from overseas and they outsourced everything. There was a huge scandal when it came out that the American military uniforms were being made in China and sent to an American manufacturer, quote unquote, where it had the label sewn on.
That's disgusting.
Look at your American flags where they're made.
Yeah,
They're
I
made in
know.
China, yeah.
But they did not turn on the war. They sent you to war and didn't turn on the wartime economy. The MRAP and the Humvees and everything, yeah, they say, oh, they were manufactured in the US. The parts were not. They were just partially assembled in the US. They didn't turn on the wartime economy and give you a job to support the war that was killing your friends. And I want you to look at it even further. They told us we're doing this to fight, ISIS, Taliban, whatever. At the time, it was Al Qaeda. After they killed bin Laden, they made you stay there so that they could reap massive profits. Dick Cheney, who fucked my generation in the ass as the Secretary of Defense, fucked you with Halliburton. So, we understand where you're coming from. We get it that you're angry. But if you want a knife fight, we've been fighting since before you were fucking born. And you're not taking shit from me. Because I had to pry this out of the cold, dead hands of boomers. But we want you to be able to go back and have a single job and raise your 2.5, 3.5, raise your 9 fucking kids. Pretend you can't pull out of the driveway and have 9 kids. We want you to be able to raise those kids on one fucking income. We want you to have pride again. We want you to be proud of your neighborhoods. We want your neighborhoods to be safe. We want this crazy boomer bullshit to stop.
We'd like it to stop before they all die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But no, they're going to tell you that we're the bad guy. Why? Because boomers have never taken responsibility for a fucking thing.
My question is, why are the kids falling for it? I mean,
because they need somebody to blame.
The kids are falling for it too, because think about, we've talked about before that millennials are the do-over babies.
Yeah.
They kept them childlike. We've talked about, the adulting thing. I have to do adulting today. They seem so childlike to me. They still are in the mindset of being teenagers. And so, I mean, it worked because now they have a generation, actually 2. Present company in the chat excluded. We know that you guys are not like this. I know that people get upset hearing us say this, but I mean, we're talking about the overall generational group.
No, we're talking about the loudmouth. We're talking about the loudmouth. We're talking about, you didn't do what Gen X did. When we had people stand up and go, we're the voice of your generation. We went, shut the fuck up and sit down.
Yeah.
But you need to do that. You need to tell these fucking TikTok stars and all that to sit the fuck down and shut up. And for fuck's sake, tell David Hogg to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, somebody hit him with a pipe, please.
I was going to say, somebody knock his ass to the dirt, please. This kid thought because he ran home and got a recording device to record all the trauma his classmates were going through. He's now the fucking expert on gun control and laws in the United States.
He wasn't even going to school.
No.
He wasn't going to school there. Oh, and his father's a glowy.
Yeah.
What a shock.
And that's the second school. That's the second school his father was assigned near that had a school shooting. Second one in a row. In a row. Yeah, take a good look at him. You're gonna find out, wow, his father's a glowy that happened to be stationed right near, and what do you know? The shooters were known to the FBI.
Oh, so are you telling me that David Hogg was another attempt to create a Greta for gun control?
Yep. Yes, it was.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not surprised. I buy it.
And remember, when Greta's talking about saving the environment, she's talking about you have to go without. Because her parents are multi-fucking millionaires who
she gets a yacht.
Got around and she gets a yacht.
Which actually turned out to be really bad for the environment too, with the amount of plastic that was used on that boat. I thought that was so poetic, but they memory hold that quick.
That and those yachts are shit for fuel. I mean, they dump just as much into the ocean as they burn.
They dump as much as a fucking cargo liner.
Mm-hmm.
The carbon they want to reduce is you.
So remember, kids, we're not your enemy. Seriously.
No.
We're your best allies. We don't want you to die. We don't want you to get screwed in the economy. We don't want you to go to war.
We just don't sugarcoat it.
That's why when they're talking about, nuclear war, we're like, we've heard all this before.
Yep.
And you're playing the same goddamn song and dance you did then. Only this time, we know the Russian army is a garbage fire, and we're not sure if their nuclear weapons are just a cardboard box with danger nuke inside written on it.
Rocks inside.
Rocks inside. Yeah, again. Don't fall for this fucking bullshit, because they want another war to keep sending you and your friends to, so they can make money and they can make sure that you don't have the ability to do anything about it.
Can I point something else out too, that they really want this war? Just a side note. So we all know that there was a massive earthquake in Morocco, and usually the United States has money to send some funding to help. We don't have any money to help. Instead, we said that we stand in solidarity, along with, Zelensky put out the same fucking statement, because all of the money that could have helped people in Morocco, because I mean, that place is fucked right now. Have you seen the pictures coming out of it?
Nope, don't care.
It's been leveled. Yeah, well, yeah, but all of our money has gone to Ukraine, and they really want all of our bodies to go over there too.
Well, here, I'm going to be brutal about Morocco. I know it isn't fair to blame an entire nation of people or country for anything, but the fact of the matter is, my sister was in France on a student trip, and a Moroccan jumped the border and raped her, and then jumped the border back over, and, it wasn't France, it was Italy, on a school trip, and the fuckers didn't want to extradite him. So, fuck Morocco.
Well, wasn't it also the Moroccans that the movie with Sophia Loren was based on, called Two Women, during World War II, where the Moroccans ran around the Italian countryside raping all the women?
They do that a lot, and my sister was one of them. So, yeah, I don't really care. They can bail themselves out. We got to care about America.
I was just trying to point. Usually, when there's a crisis in a country, the United States sends funds, something. But we're out. And this is going back to RALT'S saying the boomers have never met a war they haven't liked.
Right.
And so all of our supplies are over there. I mean, all they're waiting for now is the go ahead to send fresh young bodies over to fight their wars, while, they're 90 something fucking years old, shitting their pants, glitching on live camera, and getting boob jobs.
Shit. Are the Elsters getting boob jobs?
Of course
Did
they
you see
are.
when Pelosi doubled her breast size during Trump's term?
Oh shit! I just thought she had big tits.
I was under the impression that from seeing
she got a boob job.
Yeah,
I'm not
from when she
shocked.
was
It's
younger.
just
Yeah, because
Jesus.
remember she had her wrinkly ass cleavage out there a lot.
She had a wrinkly ass in a bikini during COVID, strutting around the beach. While you're locked down, she's at the beach with her new boobs.
what was it? As Jeff Foxworthy where they said that's kind of like putting a chandelier in a haunted house.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we know. And I love the new thing. That they asked Starlink to turn it on for Crimea so they could attack the Russian fleet at harbor. And because he said no, he's a traitor, right?
Yeah.
Now, at the time, nobody knew that Ukraine had this kind of drone technology. And wow, it's suspicious. They seem to have some really good drone tech. You know, it went from everybody pointing their finger at us for the Nord Stream pipeline explosion to looking at Ukraine's underwater drone, because it seems like they'd be able to do it. But so number one, he didn't turn it off. It wasn't on for that region. And because you're not allowed to use Starlink for war and other such things, it's in their terms of service. And he said, no, I'm not going to turn it on. Okay. Now everybody's screaming that they need to take it away from him. Okay, well, here's some questions. Number one, the United States government and NATO have the same kind of fucking system up there that could have provided drone control. And you know how I know this? Because we've been having people sitting in fucking Kansas piloting drones in Afghanistan with 2 seconds of lag. So yeah, they could have provided it. What they wanted to run it through Starlink so that the U.S. government could say, oopsie daisy, wasn't us. But I want you to think of how the Russians would react to their entire fucking fleet, including their civilian shipping vessels, being sunk in the fucking harbor. There is no way that they would have thought that that was Ukrainian drones. Not at the time. So guess who they would have blamed?
Yeah.
They would have blamed the U.S. And you know what they would have done? Tried to fire their shitty nukes. I want you to think about that for a second. Elon Musk is not a world diplomat. He's not a trained soldier. He's not a trained diplomat. He's not any of this. And they call him and tell him that Ukraine wants him to turn on Crimea so that Ukraine can use a civilian network that is only supposed to be for the internet. It's not supposed to be used in war, and attack the fleet sitting at harbor. A major escalation and a major act of war. He has to decide. It all rested on him, which is bullshit. Because remember, they threw a big fit because he told Ukraine, you can't use Starlink for your combat and control. I'm not going to let you do it. And so the U.S. government leaned on him and said, oh, we'll pay for it. So why do we owe the potato snatchers anything?
Go ahead.
Why do we owe them? Why does everybody owe them everything? They get to use Starlink, whether the owner wants them to or not, to carry out their war. Why are they owed American bodies? Why are they owed American armored vehicles? Why do we owe them this? They're the lead producer of child porn in the world. Why do we owe? They're one of the lead human trafficking countries in the world. What the fuck do we owe them? Why do we have to fucking send them? Why do we have to send late millennials and early Gen-Zers to fight their fucking war? Fuck that. Let the potato snatchers fight it out. Both sides are stupid and incompetent.
Yeah.
You know what? Honestly, when the Ukraine war first broke out, I did have sympathy. We didn't put up flags or anything, but I mean, it sucked what was happening. At this point, I don't give a fuck because their government just made me. I'm sorry that civilians on both sides are having absolutely horrible shit done to each other because they're acting like fucking animals.
Oh yeah.
But I am done with Zelensky and his cronies and the fucking entitlement that we have, and the fact that our government is like, yeah, sure, no problem, we'll give you whatever you want. I think that they've got something. Well, no, it's been proven they've got major stuff on Joe Biden and his son Hunter,
and
and so
all
they've got him by
that
the
money,
short hairs.
and all that money comes through and goes to Congress and the Senate.
Yeah.
You see, I don't want them to send any more Gen Z, any more millennials. I don't want to send them to send any more wars that we don't fucking have to fight. It does not. NATO does not hinge on this shit.
No, and you know, how many wars do we have to fucking fight for Europe? Let them fight their own goddamn wars that they keep starting.
Yeah.
It's not our problem.
It's literally not. And I'm tired of it. You think they're going to be fucking grateful? No, they're never grateful.
No.
They're never
can
going to
buy
let
our
you be one of the
weapons.
cool kids. Yeah, we'll sell them weapons.
Remember when they started panicking when Trump said he was going to start closing down the bases and we were
That
going
was
to pull out of
beautiful.
NATO? All of a
That
sudden,
was
all of a sudden
beautiful.
they wanted us there. They were quote unquote thankful. It's like you've had decades to say thank you, and instead you say fuck you.
You used to
So, no.
protest, so go fuck yourselves.
So,
Oh,
on a completely different note, here's what I did with my weekend.
That's so awesome.
My first Gundam build.
I am.
I've
Yeah, I saw that
created
on
a
Twitter.
monster.
As I say, I gave you a like on Twitter. That was really awesome.
Kat has to post hers though.
Oh, my death side?
Yeah.
Oh, I need to take cool pictures of him.
So yeah, I'm gonna make more. I think I've found a new pastime to let off stress.
Again, I've introduced him to Gunpla, and I've created a monster.
Yeah, this is going to be a new stress reliever for me.
Good. You need one.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what I did, and Kat's been doing it too.
Well, returning to it.
And it was kind of a thing where we were in the store, we're looking at him, and she, what did you say to me? You brought the box to me, and what did you say?
I said, for your sanity.
No, you had one, and you're just like, I want to buy it, but
because it was $70.
And I said, Kat, you've been saying this all your life that someday you're going to build these kinds of things. Well, how about now? You're not going to get any younger. We got the money. How about now? And the man at the store was very happy.
Yes.
If you've got the money and you don't have to spend on anything else, and it's not slated for bills, spend it.
Nope, not slated for, but bills are the first thing that get paid. In fact, the city of Mesa kind of shat themselves because I paid them 6 months in advance for
Nice.
Water.
So, for the water.
Yeah, I do that with a local natural gas company. I've got like $300 credit because when the winter comes, I'm just going to keep paying the same amount.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because by February, I'm actually behind, but they don't say anything because when the weather switches, it switches so quickly that then I'm ahead. I'm back to them owing me money within like a month.
So there you go. Yeah, the utilities companies really like me because I always pay up front or way in advance. It's just easier.
Yeah. So the other thing is we were going to talk about Chapter 4 of Boobs of Steel tonight, but we're already an hour in. So.
And sorry about that. I just
that's okay. No, I think it was a great show.
I think this was very important because
exceptionally important. I think a lot of people listening probably need to hear this.
Yeah, because we don't hate you guys. We want you guys. See, a lot late millennials and early Gen Zers are our kids, and we wanted them to have a better life than we did. So, your wife said, "I'm not going to fuck our kids up like my parents fucked me up," and the man said, "I'm not going to fuck up our kids like my parents fucked me up." So we fucked up the kids in whole new interesting ways.
Or you're like Kat and I, and we were so terrified of fucking kids up, we just didn't. Which I have mixed feelings about, but
I look at it like this.
I knew from day one I was not made to have children of my own, but I am more than happy to be there for to help young people along in their journey.
It will help Chris.
You know what my favorite thing about my grandkids is? They go home. No, I do. I love them. I love them very much. But it's nice to be able to sugar them up and send them home.
Oh,
Like my
that was
daughter says, nothing's worse than dealing with an identical copy of you with the same shit ass attitude.
that was my grandmother. My grandmother said that the best thing about grandkids is that you get to spoil them rotten and then send them home.
Your grandmother was such a good woman.
Yeah, my grandmother was amazing.
Because we're
My-
our grand.
my grandparents on my mom's side were amazing.
Your grandma
so-
took nobody's shit too.
No.
When Kendra was acting up, she was the only one who wasn't going to let that kid be spoiled.
No,
She's like, no.
he was not going to put up with
We're
that shit.
gonna take our granddaughter to the state fair, sugar her ass up, let her ride on all the rides, let her sleep on the car ride home, and then give her back.
Nice.
That is the best. I call it grandparents' revenge.
It's like, remember all those times you kept me up till 3 a.m?
Look, when Chris goes out to Steve's dad's place, he knows that he's gonna get lots of chocolate cookies. Lots of chocolate cookies. Also, his favorite food is bacon, so he gets bacon and chocolate chip cookies, and then he just comes home kind of frazzled. Not, I don't want to say rattled, but you can kind of feel. It's like you can feel the kid vibrating as he's like hyper and like.
Yeah.
Probably best and worst thing my grandmother ever could have done was teach me how to bake. Because I go over to grandma's house and I got to bake all the cookies I wanted.
Skull Monkey Media says, how about a spliced clone? Look, I've got really severe post-traumatic stress and Cat's bipolar. We're not parent material. I don't want to fuck a kid up.
No,
that said spliced clone. I thought it said spiced clone. I was like, what the fuck, dude? I know it's pumpkin spice season, but damn.
And I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, we both had severe PTSD and raised our kids. My daughter's like, my parents were crazy.
You probably were like the best parents for those kids.
Oh,
though.
God. They'd be like, there's a monster outside, and Daddy went out the door with a shotgun.
Let me put it this way. If it had been Joe, I probably would have. But I think for my own sanity, I made the right choice.
I legitimately have never wanted kids. I've never had that instinct. When I was 4 years old and all the girls wanted to play house, fine. I was dad with the job and I wasn't home. I'm not kidding.
No, that's amazing.
We were gonna have 6 kids, but she had a heart attack.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a side effect of the Gen Zero influenza trials in women.
Oh, shit.
It gave her heart murmur, and then boom.
Fuck.
The good old Gen Zero anthrax, Gen Zero influenza, and Gen Zero chickenpox fucked my ass up.
Oh shit! Yeah, chickenpox. Yeah.
The Gen Zero, the chickenpox was fucking brutal, and they gave it to people who had chickenpox before to test it. Why? I don't know.
Probably to see how badly it would fuck you up.
But they gave it to us. They get the control group that had chickenpox, got the shot, the Gen Zero shot for chickenpox, and then they exposed us to chickenpox, and we all got it.
Oh shit!
Oh.
I was an adult in my 20s with chickenpox. I was like, I'm fucking miserable.
Isn't it worse the older you get it?
Yeah, because it can turn into shingles.
It didn't turn into shingles, but it definitely was unpleasant.
In males, it can make you sterile.
Oh, lovely. Well, it didn't work on Rolf. His sperm was too powerful.
Yes.
I was just sitting there clenching my fist going, if I scratch, it's just going to spread.
He was sitting there and he was like, it was trying to make him sterile, but no, his sperm was too mighty.
I had two more kids.
See, I don't wish that on anyone. I had 2 bouts of chickenpox. Yes, I had it fucking twice, and I still have bald spots and scars all over me. Like freaking, smallpox here. Aloes. Yep. I would play Dad 2 in children's games. Yay. But yeah, no, the fact that you got exposed to that, RALT'S, just fuck.
Oh God! And then the influenza one was fucking terrible because Trista wasn't told because they were doing a blind test and they just randomly selected some people from 1st Cavalry Division and they didn't tell her and they gave her a shot. She's like, I'm pregnant. Should I be getting this? It was her and like 20 other pregnant girls.
Oh,
And
Oh
Jesus.
shit!
Jesus.
And they all gave them that. And at one point, I would have to drag her from her room and into the shower to clean her off because she was vomiting because she was running a high fever, and the shower would be cool because I was trying to cool her off. And I'd had the shot, so I'm fucking hallucinating. And at the end of it, they were like, "Oh, well, it turns out that this influenza vaccine doesn't work."
No shit.
Wow,
Thanks
thanks
for
for
exposing
that.
our children to it too, our unborn children. Jesus.
Yeah, they gave it. It was a huge scandal on Hood when it came out that they did lead trials in 1992, and they deliberately
Lead poisoning?
they took a bunch of people to the field. And what nobody knew is the T rats, which are where they open a big they boil the tin, take the tin out, open the tin, and the meal's all ready to go. They laced the T rats with lead, and they
Oh
didn't tell anybody.
shit!
And they included pregnant women in it,
That's sick.
so they could then test. They could do blood tests and see how long it took the lead to leave the body.
Was this in the 80s?
90s, 92,
This was
1992.
92. Oh, wow.
And a couple years later, it came out with how lead was bad for you.
No shit!
I knew somebody who found out that they were responsible for picking a bunch of people, and she put a gun in her mouth.
Oh god!
She should have put a gun at the people that gave the order. But
Yeah. Well, most of the people didn't know. And a lot of people, well, why would they do that? It's because GIs are the perfect test subjects. You know everything they eat. You know everywhere they've been. You have complete detailed medical histories, and you don't have to disclose. Yep, those
That's
lead trials
fucking
were a
sick.
scandal. That was a
So,
scandal. Not that anything happened. Nobody gave a fuck.
out of curiosity, so basically the army, people who are in the army are also the guinea pigs for all the crazy weird shit they want to test out in the
A
name
lot
of
of stuff,
science
yeah.
and medicine.
Motrin,
Jesus.
was it Motrin, Nuprin? Basically they test drugs on them. They used to test drugs on the GIs before they released it to the public. It'd be like a year or two you'd be taking it.
would the pharmaceutical companies pay the army or something?
No, they didn't pay shit.
They just did it.
No, they just did it. The FDA would give permission. The army would be like, hey, if we let you test on these guys, you're going to give us the medication at extremely low cost
Lovely.
if it turns out to work. Oh God, I can remember when it was the mid to late 80s. They were prescribing like 4,000 milligrams of ibuprofen for like
Fuck.
everything. I mean, fuck, it was crazy. And just think, that's why when they were like, oh, you have to take the COVID vax, a lot of the military went, no, fuck you. We're tired of you experimenting on us. What?
Trenton said something about Camp Lejeune.
Oh God. Oh yeah, they knew the water at Camp Lejeune was bad for 50 fucking years and let everybody drink it. To the point now where there's a huge class action lawsuit. I mean, it literally made kids retarded.
Jeez.
Yeah, Trenton says my dad thinks yeah.
My dad thinks some of our health issues are from the contamination at Camp Lejeune from the water he drank.
Yeah. And that's why when they're like, oh, don't you trust the government? No.
No, and that's why we need to keep our guns, because we can't trust them.
Trust the government.
Did you
Are
see
you
what that
fucking
dumb
kidding?
fucking governor did in New Mexico?
And I'm glad
outlawing concealed and open carry
it
because it
bombed.
caused. Oh yeah, the sheriff came out and said that's unconstitutional. I will not be upholding that.
Well, it looks like
order.
they're going to try and remove her.
Yeah,
Well,
she fucked up. She said that guns
No,
were
she
the
didn't.
reason there was road rage. Are you fucking kidding?
She
No,
didn't fuck
guns
up.
have nothing to do with road rage.
She did exactly what she was supposed to do. That, boys and girls, was a test run, not for gun rights, but to see just how far state authority goes. Because remember, we have states right now talking about leaving the union.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Never look at what they're showing you. Always look at their other hand or behind the curtain. This is a test to see how far the state will receive support if they defy the federal government, or what the federal government will do to a state that's defying the Constitution or their interpretation of it.
I
That's
thought it
why
was
you
a test
noticed
for the government to see if they could get individual states to start,
that too.
Relinquishing gun laws.
or no, just voiding the Constitution state by
Yeah.
state,
Because the tests in California have come out well.
which was
Basically, the gun laws, the right, there was some shit with the right of peaceful assembly came up in California again, but
same
it's
with
just,
Jersey.
yeah. And so this is just a test. No, I don't think. I think yeah, it had to do with guns because they were going to see if they could just do it end around the Constitution.
Yeah.
But I think it's also has to do with all the states talking about leaving the union.
I don't think necessarily the states leaving the union's a bad thing, but
No, I
voiding the
think if states actually start actively leaving the union, there's I honestly think the Washington D.C. will shit itself.
Well, it's not
It
going to
won't
solve
know
the
what to
problem.
do.
It's not going to solve the problem. I live in
Oh
a
no, of course
state.
not.
I live in a state that's considered purple, or maybe even leans slightly blue in the Midwest. And it's not because of everybody; it's because of one fucking city.
right.
One city whose population outnumbers the majority of the counties. And so, even if we split up by state, we've still got the problem of these cancer cells that are just going to keep spreading this shit. Because the difference is, somebody on the right wants left alone. People on the left can't stand the thought of someone else not following their rules. They won't
Yeah.
leave the other states alone.
So you think maybe if we got into a situation where the blue cities became city states and the surrounding areas said, "Yeah, smell you later," we would still end up
They
having
would do that. They would do their best to enslave the surrounding counties to provide them with food and everything they want.
Now,
which would then lead to a conflict.
Yes. I don't think it's too late, though. I think we can still pull back from this.
Well, I was going to ask Ralt, since you were in the military, and I have gathered from many
20
that have
years
been in
ago.
the military that a lot of military men and women lean red, lean conservative.
That was true 20 years ago.
Okay, because it makes you wonder, like,
Well,
how
they
many
purged
people
him.
in the military would be down with, okay, this state is leaving,
They
go
purged
invade.
them. They purged the officer corps.
Gotcha.
Milley is their top general.
Millie's such a.
Milley is
So
a man who has avoided all combat zones since 1980.
the thing is they purged as many people as they could that were either Republican or patriots. But at the same time, now you've got a heavily armed citizenry that hates them and has a personal grudge against the military with training.
Yeah.
And we know everything they do.
Yeah, you know exactly how that military operates.
I don't have a personal grudge against the military. I feel bad for them because they took something that was amazing and they destroyed it, using it as a basically they used it as a test. They turned it in their own little experiment.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine if the Viet Cong not only was a citizens army, but knew every inner aspect and every inner working of the U.S. Army?
That's why Panama was such a tough fight. Panama City was a tough fucking fight.
Oh, because it knew the inner workings of the U.S. Army?
Well, they had been training us 30 days prior for like 20 years.
Oh, shit.
You went to Panama to do LERP school, and you went to Panama for airborne and air assault and jungle warfare and urban combat. And then it's like, oh, great, I have to fight this guy. Fucking 3 weeks ago, he was fucking yelling at me. But I think, I don't know, I think something's going to give, and I think it's going to be a little startling, but I'm starting to notice something. The press seems to be turning against Biden. It's slow. They're going slow. They're not doing a sudden flip, but they're going slow, but they're doing it. For example, they broadcast the fact that he glitched out in the middle of his speech and had to be led away.
Yeah, what is it they're telling
Didn't
me
he
to
go
do?
through the wrong door too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Kat?
Oh, there's a clip of him. He forgets what he's supposed to say. He goes back to the podium. He starts flipping through his notes. He says, "What is it they're telling me I'm supposed to do?"
Okay,
And then he like lifts his head and he goes, "Any of you know what I'm supposed to say?"
Okay, guys, Eloise says that they're hiring illegal foreigners for the army and police force in cities.
What?
Not for the army. Okay, illegals have joined the army since I'd say the 70s. They come in, they do their 5 years, they get American citizenship, they get out. They get a citizenship for them and their families, as long as they don't break any laws for the first 10 years. That's been a long time thing. But Minneapolis and a few states have decided that illegal aliens can be hired by the police force.
That's a bad idea.
Well, these are the same people that want to let people who aren't American citizens vote in American elections.
Yeah.
Well,
man, that blew up in New York
That's
space,
going to
didn't it?
backfire on them too. You heard about the one I forget. They were a government person that was screaming for defund the police in Minneapolis, and they got jumped and robbed, and they called for the police, and the police were like, sorry, we don't have the money to help you. And now they're like, we need money for the police.
Well, did you see her photo? Her photo thing was bullshit.
Fake.
That was fake.
So fake. So
her picture was
I didn't
fake.
see her photo. What was the photo?
She's got Halloween spirit blood on her face.
Now the funnier one is New York.
Oh God,
fucking Eric Adams.
Yeah,
what
that's
a hypocritical
hilarious.
piece of shit. Here's the same fucker who goes to the Met Gala every year and has spent more time hobnobbing with fucking celebrities, and said that they were a sanctuary city, is now screeching at the top of his lungs for a border. And then in Chicago, people were saying that bringing illegals to their neighborhood was diluting their
voting power.
Yeah, thank you. And that they didn't want them there either. And we're asking why the southern states and the federal government had not built up their borders. Well, you know what? Fuck you. I live in California. I see the border when I drive to visit my friends in Arizona. I live in a border city, and we've been fighting that shit for decades, fighting
Since
to
the
get
70s.
a stronger border.
Since the 70s.
Yes. So, yeah, fuck you. You told us that we were racist assholes for wanting a border for our safety, and now you're screeching that you want us on the borders to build it? Fuck you.
The reason why they're letting that screeching be so loud is they don't want anybody to know the Biden administration is flying and busing these illegals to small towns. And when they get to these small towns, the federal government gives them $220 a month, pays for their rent, the utilities, and groceries, and gives them a car and full medical insurance.
Wow.
So while you're working your shitty minimum wage job, Biden moved in a couple buses or a plane load of illegal aliens, most of them from Honduras, Africa, Pacific Rim, and because it's not just Mexicans coming across the border anymore.
No.
It's everybody.
And it's because he's convinced changing the demographics will keep him in power.
No, I think the Democrats feel like that. And now, think about that, $220 a month.
Yeah.
Per family. Oh, and people are advising the families to split up so they can double the money.
That's sick.
$220 a month, free car, Section 8 housing, all the utilities paid for, grocery bill, insurance, cell phone, medical insurance, and you're working a minimum wage job and have to live 5 to an apartment, and these same people are telling you to blame Gen X, not the government.
So you said you think we can turn it around. What's your feeling on that?
If we deport everybody who's not an American citizen.
Oh, you said oh yeah.
And then bring industry back, get rid of all these bullshit fucking laws and all these bribes and all this stupid shit that prevents factories from being opened up.
You mean like
And bring-
Trump was doing?
Yeah, bring back industry. Stop all these fucking foreign countries from buying land and houses and sitting on them. And
Frankly, I think we should just grab those houses back and that land under eminent domain and say, "Oh, sorry, change
Oh,
our
Sorry.
mind."
absolutely. You know how many Chinese businessmen own property in the United States?
Yeah, I think we should just eminent domain that shit and say, "Oh, we changed our mind."
break up the big realty companies like John L. Scott. You're from the West Coast. You're familiar with John L. Scott. Biggest fucking realty company on the West Coast. Most predatory out there. And responsible for jacking up the prices because they get a huge cut. Yeah, John L. Scott, the John L. Scott thing, they literally make money by renting other people's houses out for them. That's their money making scheme.
Shut down that Airbnb bullshit. I
Yes.
mean, you go to any beach city or town in California now, 99% of the houses are rentals, Airbnbs, and 1% is like generational, has been handed down, and that's the only reason they have it, and they can barely hold on to it. Because I mean, I remember my dad telling me stories when he was going to SDSU. Him and his friends lived in a house in Mission Beach. And it was owned by one of the guys that was my dad's friend. He owned it and he rented it to his like 3 of his friends, including my dad. It was an owned house by a guy in his 20s. That's like impossible now.
Yeah.
But I mean,
And
in the late 60s, early 70s, that was not a big deal.
no, it wasn't a big deal for somebody in their 20s to buy a house.
So the fact that the news let Biden's fuck up slip and they actually ran that is kind of giving you a notion that things are changing.
Yeah. Especially when they're talking about how great Kamala is.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck me. Here we go.
Yeah, they're
She's a train wreck in herself.
Sorry.
Yeah, but
that's her laugh.
The other thing they've got to do is they've also got to lower property taxes.
Yeah.
I mean, and they've got to do something. They've got to do something about the taxes because holy fucking shit. Your average Zoomer and your average millennial is losing to taxes if you count in sales tax and gas tax and all the other taxes. They're losing over half their paycheck to taxes.
Remember, kids, if you don't like taxes, it's because it's communist.
Yes.
Yeah. I object to it because we've seen what they're doing with our tax money. We've also got to slim up the government and tell them no more of this paying fucking supervisors $1 million a year. You want to know what's wrong with your school district? You want to know what's wrong with your schools? The superintendent is making at least $1.5 million a year.
Yeah.
That's your problem.
Exactly.
That's why they fight so hard to get that job.
That's where your tax money is going, and that's why your kid has 20-year-old textbooks, because the upper administration, like the district superintendent and those guys, are pulling in multi-million-dollar salaries.
Half of California's budget goes to schools, and they've got the worst ones in the nation.
Because it all goes, and all those fucking administrative people have nice cars, nice clothes, multiple houses.
And there was somebody in Oregon raised me was one of those dirt bags.
There was somebody in Oregon who really looked hard at how the laws were for retirement, and they found something out. There was a small little thing in the law that, let's say you were a substitute teacher and you were a bus driver, you would get every year you worked as a part-time bus driver, and every year you worked as a substitute teacher would now count as 2 years toward retirement, right?
Oh, bullshit.
No, get this. This woman managed to, in the course of 2 years, become substitute teacher, a bus driver, an office worker, a janitor, a clerk for the superintendent's board. She managed to, in 3 years, get 7 fucking positions that each of them piled up on top of each other, right? She didn't say anything. She worked for 8 years, right? And then retired. Because of the laws, they had to give her retirement as if she was a full-time employee of each of those, and she got the money. The state flipped the fuck out because she was supposed to get $4.5 million a year in retirement benefits, and she was 28.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And she was like, I didn't do anything illegal.
No, she did
And-
not.
And the state tried to get out of it, so she sued them and won.
Good.
No, wow, they changed the rules. But I mean, I got to admire that she sat down and goes, this part-time shit sucks. Wait, what's this?
Yeah.
Okay, real quickly, before we call it a night, Boobs of Steel, Janelle has been wanting to talk about Chapter 4 for a while now.
Yes.
So next Monday, do you think we can do Chapter 4?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
I'll have read it by then. It's only 40 pages.
And for those of you in the audience to follow along, we'll be reading Chapter 4, or going over it some. Now, we need to call it a night. I'm as amazing as this episode's been, and our episodes have been getting really good. I had an episode yesterday, and I'm really tired. So,
And remember, don't let them pit us against each other.
no,
They're the enemy.
Yes, they are.
again, I repeat, Gen X is your best fucking friend. We've been there. We want to help.
We may be harsh, but
Yeah, we're assholes, but we want to see the boomers burn just as much as you do.
Oh, yes.
these people burn shit.
Remember, the average age of Congress and the Senate is 83.
Which is,
Yep.
oh, God, yeah.
It's a
Which is-
retirement home.
Yeah.
Which is strangely the average age of most of the WEF as well. Did you know that?
Mhm. Yep.
They're all
That's why they're.
Yeah.
That's why they're all doing this shit, because they know they're going out and they want to take as much as they can with them because it's their money and they want it now.
Yeah. All right. Good night, everyone.
And check out Behold Humanity as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. A new book's coming out very, very soon.
Yes.
Very soon. Yep. Just waiting for the cover.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night.